Mute myself. Sick. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, it is really, really great to be in this dialogue today. We are excited to hear from our colleagues from MIET Africa and from really the Regional Education Learning Initiative East Africa. And we are really excited to hear from all of the voices that are in the room with us today. Please do introduce yourselves. As we mentioned, we'll have a couple of minutes and a few secs for us to meet each other one-on-one in some breakaway rooms. And really just now for a quick introduction to the session from Aziz, Andrew, and myself. And then we are going to pretty much disappear into the background as we hand over to these remarkable two teams of people and organizations who've been working over, in some instances, decades, but certainly for a number of years on setting up regional collaborative initiatives. And so before we start with the intros of the team, what we would really like to do is invite Joyce Malombe, a dear friend of not only Africa Voices Dialogue, but also the Really team, just to share some thoughts on why regional collaboration, why is it necessary, why do we need to give it attention, and what are some of the opportunities and challenges that it holds. So Joyce, if I can hand over to you, we're going to spotlight you for the moment and ask you to share your thoughts.
First, again, I'm very excited about this session because I am not a speaker. I'm just going to make a few remarks. The speakers are in the house, the owners of Relive. I am from Wellspring Philanthropic Fund, and we started this network about 5 years ago. And I just thought if I talk about why we started this, maybe it will touch some of the points that I need to touch. I don't know, do I have 5 or how many minutes?
5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I won't need 10, but I hope I don't go on and on. But I think the most important thing is that collaboration is necessary for change makers. Nobody who is trying to move what needs to be moved in development can organize on their own. And one of the key things that hit us was the fact that we can really support a lot of organizations and work with them. They can become big, they can do a lot of things. But as long as there isn't a clear voice coming from some place, pushing the agenda, it is really very difficult to do this. And you know, a country could do on their own, or a few groups can get together and do this. But education is too important to be left to chances. It is the most important and it has an influencing role that nobody has got. This is where minds are being made. This is where, actually, if we lose the battle on education, which you know how well we have lost it. If we lose the battle in education, we have lost countries, we have lost regions, we have lost the world in that sense. And in East Africa, where especially we come from different ways of looking at things, it just became clear that you can, for 50, 60 years, grants have been made, we have been talking development, but a lot of it is nothing but talk and a lot of money going from different places, and we don't know exactly where it happens. We are still developing Africa, even after 60 years of dropping so much money in this place. How long is it going to change for Africa really to be able to be developed? Who is developing us? Where are they getting their ideas from? What is influencing what they are going to say? And so what I felt like what is missing on the table is the African voice. the African voice speaking for itself, speaking its agenda, and moving what they need to move. You remember Nyerere saying that nobody can develop anybody else. So the issue of people coming to rescue and deliver Africa, as much as it is archaic and very confusing and outdated, it is still what we are doing. But millions and millions and millions have gone into this development effort. I am not saying nothing has happened. I am saying the real significant transformative change is going to take place when Africans take the bull by the horn and run with it and inform the world. And now we actually can. So capacity has been built and will continue to be built. And so is everybody's capacity. It is not only Africa's capacity. So when you talk about collaboration, it is very difficult for people who are not equal to talk about collaboration. When I am bringing the money and I am telling you what to do, and I am saying I have come with an agenda here, this is our strategy, and what you are doing does not meet our strategy, so I can't fund you. What happens in such a thing is that now you start changing whatever you plan to do to align with the donors. And that is where the problem, I think, in education is, because we cannot actually afford this. As I speak, children's minds and lives are being formed and influenced, and either they will get up and fight for themselves and their countries, or either they will wake up and ask what people used to ask me when I was doing research in Kenya: what have you brought us? Instead of saying, what can we do together as collaborators, because the issue is too big. So I'm not saying that Africa doesn't need money. I'm saying that that money needs to be addressed in a very different way. So why collaboration in education? It is because it actually takes a nation, a village, everybody to be able to provide the kind of relevant education that children need. And that kind of education does not come from the donor. It does not come from the NGO. It does not come from the CBO. It is coming from a collaborative effort that recognizes the worth of a child and delivers an agenda that is completely holistic and that is preparing and supporting that child to be the best that they can be. So do not tell me as an NGO you can do this. We are there to facilitate and support each other and make this happen. So the NGOs have their role to play. And so I will put my effort there, but my salute goes to the parents who are the main stakeholders of the education system. And we disrespect them by trying to tell them what to do. My salute goes to all those sisters and brothers and the family and other people there who are the main influencers, even the church or the religious. I mean, everybody is involved in education. They're in a classroom at a certain point, which is where I want to dwell a little bit, but most of the time they are not there. So what happens when they are not there? So collaboration in education is absolutely so key that we thought that we can continue putting money in East Africa and support many organizations like we do. But until we are really supporting a voice of development, wanting to hear what do Kenyans think the education should look like. And so our focus is narrow. We talk about quality education, but I also want to say education that is not relevant, that is not quality, that is not supporting children in the way they should be supported. It is just, again, not education. And so we needed a network so that we can increase the impact of what we do. But we realize we don't do, we fund. Somebody else does. And that person who does is in the house and they are going to talk, not us. So collaboration is important if you are really talking about change, because nobody can make change happen by themselves. Collaboration is important when you want impact. And we didn't know exactly this, but we went and asked them, now that we have supported you for 4 years, what do you want? And people said that we need support to generate evidence, we need support to collaborate and learn, and we need communication to engage with the government. The agenda of education, the government has refused to let it go. They spend more money on this thing, maybe only next to defense in most countries. They hold it, and instead of transforming it, a lot of times they are actually reiterating the colonial. This is the oldest colony whose systems need to be really shaken a little bit so that we can deliver and create a new child, support the new child to emerge and be there. So we realized that a lot of work, small initiatives, small pilots, some of them bigger than others, but our efforts would only go anywhere if these organizations can work together, doing the things they said they were doing. So it is not because they didn't know what they were doing. It is just that nobody was listening to this voice. So the rally members will speak. It has been quite a journey for the last 5 years. Very tough one, because we decided, let them make the thing or make it happen. We have provided support and tried really hard. But the reason why we have tried so hard is that we want an African voice in the local and international education discourse. Let them speak. I hope by now, even if they don't get it, that at least some capacity has slipped through their mind and they can talk about what can make change. The other thing is realizing that funding for education is disappearing. And if you really want to make a difference, people have to collaborate and say what it is that they are doing, how they are doing it, and what changes it that they are making. And so support will not come to small everybody keeps talking about capacity. But how do you build capacity? We build capacity by whichever organization is stronger in East Africa, taking under its wings another organization and working with that. How would they know they could do this? This is what is happening in Red. So you are actually maximizing your resources by using what you have got and not getting somebody who has never been there to come and be evaluating and doing your programs. So now you see I took more time. I'm just about to end. The other thing is unleashing innovative and ways of working. If you want innovation, if you want change, if you want to do new things, what is so shocking is that people who are competing and fighting and not wanting to collaborate are now copying each other's programs like crazy. I am not involved in this thing. They found where impact is. They are training each other, telling each other this is what works, this is how it works, and then together they are going to their governments. I don't think I know any of the governments in East Africa. But these people are positioned, because they are collaborating together, they are positioned themselves.
It seems we have lost Joyce's voice, but we are certainly going to have her back very soon. We love this powerful speech, of course, and we feel that it is inspiring. Don't you think so, Robin?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we will hear Joyce's voice again just now when she's able to unfreeze. But really just want to wholeheartedly agree that the way that we strengthen our collective capacity is through really looking for where are the strengths, where can we support one another, how do we learn from each other, how do we share our experiences, our capacities, our networks, and not get caught up in the conversation about who needs what and who has more and who is better, but what needs to be done. and how can we do it together, specifically, obviously, for Africa Voices Dialogue around the issue of education, of human learning, and of human development. And so what we'd love to do now is just introduce the two remarkable teams who are going to be speaking to us today. And Andrew, I'm going to ask you if you could please introduce this large group of people. We are going to give a demonstration in how collective voice can be heard through collaborative approaches. Andrew, over to you to introduce our wonderful guests today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin. Today we are very delighted to be joined by two teams. That is MIT Africa and also Relive. I have worked with Relive for some time, so I have known them for a number of years. And also in the last few days, I've also connected with the MIT Africa, and we are very delighted to connect with them today. So from the Relive side, we are joining.
Andrew, sorry, we probably have Joyce back with us. Just to let you know that she's here.
Yes, Joy, sorry for the disconnection. Please continue. We noted that there was internet issue, so please continue. We lost you abruptly.
Thank you. So I was talking about unleashing innovation and different ways of working to tackle a very, very complex issues around the education. Then the other one, it is that is important is creating shared accountability in a changing world. So collaboration, really, I would talk a lot about it. But if really we are going to see change happen in education, and it must happen, because if it doesn't happen there, it is not going to happen elsewhere. That is the beginning place. And if it doesn't, if we don't really give people quality, balanced education where they can do what they need to do, I think we are just talking, and we have talked for a very long time. And the way the education system is still so colonial, so structured, so there's so much change that is required there. But people actually have what it takes to make these changes. But because we are importing ideas of how they should do this in a context that is different from where we are importing the ideas, people are not able to do it. So I would say for collaboration, it is to let them speak their mind, let them have that space. And there's competition always. There's fighting to do it, but eventually they will realize. Education is not about me and my organization. Education is the change that is going, that we are building Africa of tomorrow. And if really that is what makes your heart beat as you wake up, collaboration is the thing you will embrace, whether you want to do it or not to do it, because there is no other way to build, to get this to happen. And having said that, of course, there is issue of trust building, but why don't we give people a chance to build that trust? But I just feel like as soon as people realize that they actually have a voice and they can speak by themselves and they can talk about the solution, we have enough educated people in this continent. We have enough teachers and children engaged in education to really show us what is the way forward. So I would let the Relive members speak about whether this has been a useful thing to them, how it has been useful. But I want to end by saying that this is not a choice. It is the only choice if we want to transform education in Africa, and if we want that education to be relevant, and if we really want to support each other as we do this. And here, it is allowing them to collaborate, but it is also us as donors, as funders, as development, development actors, realizing that we cannot continue to isolate and control, but open up space and work together even as donors. Work together and find ways to do that. And I know for a fact you know, I'm just happy to say that quite a number of donors now are just coming and saying, if this is here, what do we need to do something else? What can we do together? And really is open for Africa and for everybody to make a lasting change for children of Africa, because this network is about nothing else. It is about Africa's children, whose future we hold the key to their future. Let us give that key. Let us open the door and let them in. Or our own thing and supporting only my organization. Collaboration is the key to transform our education. And if we transform education, we will transform countries. And we will share whatever it is that we have from the global arena, from the local arena, but as equal partners, because that is the only way to do. That is the only way to do this. And even if I have not convinced you, I don't know any other way. So maybe by the end of these discussions, you will tell us an alternative. But collaboration is the key to transform education in Africa. There is no other way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joyce. That was amazing. Yeah, and with that, just into introducing our collaboration. I don't want to call them experts because we're not really mad about, we're not desperate to have experts, we're desperate to have people who are willing to step in and share experience and be present and show up. So Andrew, over to you to continue to introduce our various team members and dialogic hosts today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin. Today's guests, we are getting our today's guests from the Relive team and the MIT Africa team. And I would like to pass the baton to the Relive team. They introduce themselves. Then after the Relive team, we go to the MIT team. And we'll start with the Deborah, and then Deborah will pass over to another person until they all introduce themselves. This is just a session of introducing ourselves before we go to, of course, in the next few minutes, we shall go to the real discussion. So we are just taking 1 minute to introduce ourselves, what we do, what our organizations are all about. Then after that, now we go to a breakout session. So we can start with the Deborah, Nganga, then from the Relive Africa team, then we go to the MIT team. We can start with Deborah, please.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrew. And thank you, Joyce, for those words. Much to think about, as always. But it's a real pleasure to be here. And thank you so much to you all for hosting us, the team from Relive. My name's Deborah Kimathi. I have been part of the leadership team at Relive for about 4.5 years, particularly in Relive Kenya. I served for a number of years as one of the country leaders, and now a bit of a backseat, but still part of the leadership team. And it's been a fantastic journey to be on, and we're excited to share it with you all today. I also run an organization called Dignitas. We partner with school leadership teams to improve the quality of teaching and learning, particularly in marginalized communities across Kenya. And with that, I hand over to Nanga.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. An honor to be here and a pleasure to hear from Joyce. It's been a while since I heard her voice. Yeah, speaking powerfully to the spirit of collaboration, I can only echo it. My name is Nanga Kibandi. I normally provide an award for anyone who gets my first name right, Robin. Currently, I am the country lead for Relive. Colleague lead Sam, who's not here with us, but he passes his regards and I'd love to be part of us. I think he'll join us at some point. I also on a day-to-day basis support and lead advocacy and development. I work closely with Deborah at Dignitas. And yes, enjoy serving the rest of the Relive team. Yeah, I think that's all from me. I'll hand over to Samson to also introduce himself.
Oh, thank you very much, Nanga. I got it right. So my name is Samson Sita. I work with Milele Zanzibar Foundation as the coordinator for Alive project, an initiative from one of the thematic groups in the Relive network. And also I've been part of the leadership team previously, working as a lead for the accountability cluster. So quite an experience with Relive. Yeah, thank you so much. Now I would like to pass it over to Dr. Maryam.
Thank you very much, Samson, and the previous speaker. I am Dr. Maryam Jafar Ismail from the State University of Zanzibar. It's a public university, but I'm also a country leader for Relive Tanzania. Currently, Relive Tanzania have got like 4 clusters. We have got teacher development and support, we call it TDS. We have got another cluster, equity and inclusive education. We have got value and life skill, value and accountability clusters. So normally we are working together. And I'm also, some mentioned about Relive, but we also have got another initiative which we are calling Adapt. I'll talk about it later. Thank you very much. And I pass it
on over to Maria.
Yeah, Mauro. Yeah, Mauro. You're welcome.
Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. I'm Mauro Giacomazzi. I work at the Luigi Sani Institute of Education in Kampala. I serve as institutional development advisor. And I've been part of Relive since 2017 when we started this great adventure. And currently I am the Relive Country Hub Coordinator. Goretti, would you like to come in?
Goretti.
Thank you very much. So good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Goretti Nakabugo, based here in Uganda at Uwezo, Uganda. And I'm country co-lead for Ready Uganda, together with Modern Karema, who I believe is online at the moment. And glad to be part of this dialogue, really looking forward to learning from each other.
Thank you so much, Relive team. We now go to the MIT Africa, our other wonderful guests, and I pass it over to Lynn, who will pass over to one of our colleagues until the 4 speakers have introduced themselves. Then we go to our breakout sessions. So it's your time, Lynn.
Thank you, Andrew, and good afternoon to everybody. Like everybody else, it's a real great pleasure to be part of this dialogue, especially around the topic of collaboration, which is, I think, as Joyce has already said, is so critical if we want to really make change. My name is Lynn van der Elst. I don't see John Volming's picture here with us, but John is part of the MIT Africa team as well, and I'm actually going to pass on to him when I'm finished, because John is a co-founder together with me and another colleague of MIT. We founded the organization in 1996 and based in Durban. We started out as a South African organization, but then in the early 2000s, we became a regional organization, and today we work across the SADC region. Currently, my role is Director of Regional Programs. So I'm actually going to hand over to John because I don't see his picture there.
Quickly, Lynn, I want to share with you, John has a whole slide to himself because he, like Joyce, has a starring position. But he most certainly is, you know, an integral part of the MIT team, but kind of not for the next little segment. But John, thank you, and we would love to hear from you.
Well, thank you very much, Robin, and thank you, Lynn, and thank you, everyone. You know, we've been going for about half an hour, and as somebody else has said, it's very inspiring to see people holding hands in dialogue in this way. So I feel privileged to be here. My name is John Bowie. I work with Lynn van der Elst and the MIT team. I'm the chairperson of the board. I met these two rather strong human beings there's Lynn van der Elst and a colleague, Wilna, in 1996. While I was sitting very peacefully in my office, contemplating what I should do as the vice principal of the university where I was. And in walked these people, and they said, you shall take the lead as the chairperson of the board, and that is 1996. The rest is history. I will later on fill in the history a bit more, but I want to say I've learned so much from my interaction with the MIET team, a wonderful team of people. And I've also learned a bit about regional collaboration. And I'm very happy to learn more today, and I'm already learning. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Learning is a continuous process, and it is incremental. And we're looking forward to keep learning today. So I'll go to Maziko, who will introduce Maureen King and the charity before we go to the breakout sessions. So Maziko, please.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. My name is Maziko Matemvu, and I am the health coordinator for the Future Life Now program in Malawi. I'm very excited to be with everybody and excited to share insights and the best practices. I will hand over the mic to Maureen King. Thank you.
Yes, Maureen, your turn.
Good afternoon, colleagues and friends. My name is Maureen King. I'm the Regional Technical Assistant for the Future Life Now program. I've been at MIT for over 2 decades, and I'm really excited about participating in this dialogue for sharing and learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. And now Charity Banda.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me also mention that I'm happy to be part of this meeting and to meet all of you. I'm a teacher, and when I was hearing from Dr. Joyce, she's so passionate about education. I was just asking myself, what role have I played for the past 26 years that I've been a teacher in Zambia? Have I worked as a teacher, in line with what she was just talking about? Currently, I'm country coordinating the program called Future Life Now, which is being supported by MIET Africa. I'm based in Zambia, and our offices are at the Ministry of Education head office. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And before I hand over to Robin, I would like to share a few of the feedback which we got from you when you are filling the questionnaire. This is data which is collected from all of you. Of course, we were asking you the benefits of engaging in regional collaboration. We were also asking the 3 challenges that make regional collaboration for education difficult. We were also asking how can regional collaboration for education be better supported? And then we were asking you, how are you aware of regional collaborative for education in your geographic region? Or so, if so, what else? I will just read a comment out of the many. I will just give a response out of the many responses which we got. And the 3 benefits of collaboration, one of them is get a transcontinental or a regional curriculum. Another benefit, creation of multi-level and multidisciplinary expert network. And the third benefit, which you gave, was tackling common African socio-economic from local activities. And the 3 challenges in making regional collaboration difficult. That is the 3 challenges which have made collaboration really difficult. The responses from you were a difference in languages. That is, we are from diverse languages. Another one was differences in curricular system. Another one is bad leadership and governance in education systems, leading to a poor education policy. And how can regional collaboration for education be better supported? And you gave these points as by establishing a network of networks, establishing a network of networks. That's a very strong point. Establishing a network of networks that support regional education. Another one is a clear definition of challenges, then proposing inclusive and practical solution. And once we have these solutions, we amplify. Are you aware of the regional collaboratives for education in the region? If so, what are these? A majority say they are not aware. So I think these are very strong discussion. These are very strong platforms that we can connect and collaborate more and know that we have collaborative activities within the continent. Others talked about Relive, Tanzania, PAL Network, Africa Voices Dialogue. Those are just a few of the responses which you got from our community. Back to you, Robin.
Fantastic, thank you. So just for those who've never joined us in one of the Africa Voices dialogues, it's wonderful to have spent some time just getting to know and feel who's in the room. The way that we run these dialogues is really to try and foster quite a lot of engagement between participants, so that it's not only sort of a panel of experts, it is really more of a conversation between peers. And so we cycle between two formats. The one is this conversational circle where we have remarkable thought leaders such as the 10 incredible people, actually 11 with Prof. Volmink as well, at 12 with Joyce Malombe, who prompt thinking. And then we break into breakaway rooms so that we can actually have an opportunity for our own voices to be heard. So one in 5 normally, so breakaway rooms of 4 or 5, just with an opportunity to discuss what's emerged from this conversational circle. And so we have had a beautiful long introductory period. I'm going to suggest that we don't necessarily break away immediately now to introduce ourselves to each other in smaller groups, but that we go into the presentation from the MIET team. It's a very powerful presentation. And very thought-provoking, with a huge amount of experience backing up this work that MIET Africa has been engaged in. And with that, we are going to keep very quiet. Lynn, I'm going to hand over to you. If you need slide changes, just shout and say, please change, and we will change for you. So over to you, Lynn.
Thanks, Robin. John, I think, is going to just start off with a few words and then hand over to me.
Thank you, Lynn. As I said earlier, MIET started in 1996. And it's interesting that MIET stands for Media in Education Trust. And the reason for that is Lynn and the colleague who started this off, that colleague was a journalist and walked into my office and said, I've got this vision of bringing media, print media, into the classroom to help kids learn. And I said, well, okay, that sounds good. But after she spoke for a long time, I said, I don't know much about what you're saying, but because it's not my field. However, I can see that you really believe in what you're saying. I can see it by the glint in your eye. Because of that, I'll support you. And that's now it's 26 years later, and we are still working together. Media in Education Trust started off that way, both Lynn and Vilna, who was the other person. What happened then was that we began to respond to the needs in society. Firstly, in South Africa, it was a time of great change. The conventional posts have been washed away. We were on uncharted waters, and we had a new curriculum. And MIET was asked to take the leadership in helping teachers deal with this new curriculum. And that's how we started. And so we moved away from just media in education to building curriculum, And then we said, but this is quite narrow-minded of us to think of this need only as a country, South Africa. So why don't we think about working with and learning from our colleagues in our neighboring countries? And so started the regional collaboration. So all I want to say today, after 27 years, we focus on, we've learned so much. One of the lessons that we learned is partnership, what partnership is. Personally, I say partnership does not mean how I can help you and you can help me. Partnership has got to do with how together we can do what we otherwise would not be able to do. It's all about collaboration and working together. It's not about you scratching my back and I scratching your back. It is really about collaboration to achieve a bigger cause. Lynn will speak more now in a minute about what else we have learned. We have learned not only about partnership and the importance of partnership, but we've also learned about the importance of influence. So we work with government and we work with communities. And we take our bearing from the work of some great people in our country who in 1989 developed 3 scenarios for South Africa. One is we can choose as different stakeholders who are interested in education. We have a choice. We can walk apart. That's one choice. And they showed how this scenario would lead to disaster. Secondly, we can walk behind. So whatever the funder says or whatever the government says, we said, fine, we will walk behind. Or the third option, which is the preferred option, instead of saying we will walk apart, instead of saying we will walk behind, the third option is walking together. And it sounds nice, but it is the most difficult option. Walking together is the right thing to do, but it takes a lot of leadership and it takes a lot of time. So that's what we've learned. And Lynn will speak now about the importance of influence and also the importance of innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. And if I could have the slides back, thanks very much. And we can go to the first slide. That's it. You know, I think as John sketched the sort of journey we've been on as an organization, but I think what is really important for MIET is that the vision we started with, which is a pretty broad vision, and the 3 strategic drivers have remained and stood the test of time. And the vision is improving the lives of children and youth across Africa. That's our broad vision, through quality education. And our 3 strategic drivers are innovation, and I was very happy to hear Joyce speak about the importance of innovation. The second one is partnerships, and the third one is influence. And when I talk about the next slide, and I'm not ready to go there yet, but when I do, you will see how these 3 drivers actually come together to describe the modus operandi that MIET has adopted for our development work. But I've put partnerships in the middle between the 2 others because we cannot innovate without partners, and we cannot influence without partners. So the second strategic driver we put in the middle because it's critical. And I also wanted to say that, you know, for me personally, I think there is a difference between collaboration and partnerships. I think collaboration will be interesting to hear from the dialogue participants in terms of whether people feel there is a difference or there isn't. For me, collaboration can be quite quite quick and superficial, not meaningless. I don't mean it, that it's meaningless, but you can collaborate fairly informally. Whereas for me, a partnership is a much stronger, more formal way of working towards a shared goal. So I'm going to use the term partnerships because that's where we've experienced the greatest success. Next slide. In fact, I will skip this slide. If I've got time, I will come to this one at the end. I'll go on to that. So this is our collaboration or partnership model. And, you know, as an NGO, what we want to achieve is whatever we do is, first of all, sustained over time, but that it's also scaled up, because we recognize that we are not in a position as an NGO to reach every child, every school, every teacher across the SADC region. But we do have partners that we can work with to do that. And key amongst those partners are government, because governments have the mandate, and democratically elected governments have the mandate to provide quality education. But also communities, because communities are there on the ground, they are always there, they can sustain. So our model is such that we use what we believe is our strategic advantage as an NGO, which is to innovate. Because we are adaptable, we're flexible, we can do things quickly. And in the model, you will see that MIT Africa at the innovation stage is the key driver, but we're not the only driver, because we also at that stage look at who are our obvious partners, who are the partners that are critical for working with us on the innovation, but then taking us as we test that model, whatever it might be, the approach that we've come up with, as we test it, we want government with us, we want communities with us, and we want any other relevant partners to be with us. And as you see MIT Africa's role and influence decrease, so you see our sustaining partners, governments and communities' role increase. But for us, we move then from innovation through partners to influence, and that's the third strategic driver. Because if we want to see change, we need to be able to either influence what governments are doing through their policies, through their budgets, through their plans, strategies. We need to be able to influence donors. I really like that, what Joyce was saying, is we cannot just accept what donors from outside of our region are coming with. We need to be challenging that and influencing it with evidence-based approaches that we've tested and shown results. And then eventually we want to see full adoption by government and by communities, because if we can see that, that's when we can see change at scale that can be sustained. And my colleague Maureen will be sharing one example where that has happened in the region, where something started out as an NGO-driven pilot, and through partners and through partnerships, we were able to influence policies of ministries of education across the region so that they fully adopted it. And then our role, together with other NGOs, becomes a role of technical assistance. So before I moved into what are for us the critical success factors, what are the lessons learned, I wanted to share where we are coming from in terms of our modus operandi in working. Why do we work with partners to innovate and to influence so that we can scale and sustain the work that we do. Next slide. So the lessons learned, and I say often from failures, because some of our partnerships have not been so successful. So the top row of blocks kind of go together. Know your partner. I think sometimes, you know, we get into partnerships without really getting to know them. What is their vision? What are their priorities? What are their values? Make a decision. Do they align with ours? And if they do, then develop collaboration strategies based on that knowledge. And then we always say, be willing to compromise, but stay true to your principles and values. And I'll give you an example here. In the early years, we got fairly significant funding from an international donor. And then we started feeling that we were being pressurized by this donor. We were being asked to do things that went against our principles. And in fact, we took a decision to actually say to this donor, we were no longer able to continue that partnership because it actually went against our values and our principles. Particularly in this instance, it was about, we are an African NGO. We work very closely with our school communities. We have a real understanding of the contexts where we work. And we believe that those understandings, that knowledge needs to be taken seriously by any donor, by any funding partner, rather than having the frameworks actually imposed on us from another context. So I think it's really important to be able to do that. And I know that NGOs find that difficult to do because of funding constraints, but I think we really do need to hold our principles and values high. Being passionate is important. I mean, it's for us, it's kind of the first P in partnerships is about passion, but it's also about being realistic. I think, you know, I remember John spoke about my colleague, Vilna, and the two of us went in our very first year of working. We went to visit a university, and the professor, when we walked in, he said, "Oh, my favorite two missionaries coming to see us." And it was kind of, we like looked at each other. And I think it's this impression of NGOs are these passionate missionaries. And it's important to be passionate. And I think we can be proud to be passionate about our vision. But equally, we've got to be realistic and pragmatic. Well prepared. I think we've had several lessons learned of not having clear lines of communication, both written and verbal. And I'm sure everybody in this dialogue would identify with that. Where you have issues and concerns, don't wait for them to fester. This applies to any relationship, any partnership, whether it's in your family or whether it's in your organization. Because if we allow things to fester, so they grow. And so if you've got an issue in a partnership, raise it immediately. Except that there is never a perfect partnership. We know that all partnerships have their challenges. Be prepared for that. It's going to be like that. That's life. Be open and honest. I think, again, that's applicable to any relationship or partnership. And don't be afraid to leave. I think sometimes we need to just say, this is not working. Let's rather agree that this hasn't been the right thing. And so we can exit a partnership. So those are kind of just some of the lessons we've learned what we need for partnerships to be successful, but also taken from when it hasn't worked so well. And then you can go back to that slide that I skipped. I'm not going to go that one. This is just what we do when we have new staff members joining MIET. Because partnerships are so important, we take them through the PARTNERSHIPS of partnerships. And we talk through each of what those letters mean in terms of MIT's approach to partnering. So with that, I'm actually going to hand over to my colleague, Maureen King, and she's going to share MIT's experience of regional collaboration. And she's going to use care and support for teaching and learning as an example, where we've had some success through our partnership across the region. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. And right, thank you, Lynn. I'll be sharing with you the Care and Support for Teaching and Learning program as a successful example of collaboration in the SADC region. Next slide. Right. So the Care and Support for Teaching and Learning is a systemic model for education support in Southern Africa. The goal of this program is to strengthen education systems by mainstreaming support so that all children and youth in the SADC region can realize their right to education and development. But we need to know a little bit more about where did it all start. Way back in 2003, MIT implemented a program called Schools as Centers of Care and Support in 3 provinces in South Africa. We initiated the program and we implemented the program with minimal participation by the ministries of education at a national level, but we did encourage participation of the school and community. This program was implemented successfully, and we realized that we would like to pilot it across more member states. So MIT approached the ministries of education in Eswatini, Zambia, and also again in South Africa to pilot the Schools as Centers of Care and Support program. After a successful evaluation, we realized that this should go further, but we needed to get the support of the SADC Secretariat and the SADC Ministers of Education. So we took the initiative to meet with the SADC Secretariat. It was an opportune meeting. It was an opportune meeting because they welcomed the program because they also had a common vision to support the strengthening of the education systems across the SADC region. So the Care and Support for Teaching Learning program as it is implemented at all levels in the member states. We start at a regional level, the member state level, at a national level, subnational, and school level. It's important that we give a strong focus to school community because that is where the target group of our youth are. The Care and Support for Teaching and Learning program ends up being contextualized because it is implemented across several countries and the context is important. But the school serves as a hub of the ecosystem, of the educational ecosystem, where the co-educators such as the NGOs, the parents, the traditional leadership, police services, Ministry of Education, and other government departments collaborate in order to ensure that barriers to teaching and learning are addressed and that all children realize the right to education. The co-educators, including teachers, the learners themselves, the community, play an important role in developing and empowering the youth with the agency so that they become change agents in their own lives today, in that of their families, in the school, in the community, and in their country. It starts today. They become the change agents now and in the future. Next slide. Next, right. So for the implementation of the Care and Support for Teaching and Learning program, the collaboration has been effective because all partners have a common vision. The partners are the SADC Secretariat, the SADC Ministers of Education, UN agencies, and funding partners. But to ensure that the program was sustainable, we had to get the buy-in of the SADC Ministers of Education to support our rollout of the program in the SADC region and to ensure that barriers to teaching and learning are addressed. If these barriers are not addressed, sure, you will see low enrollment, perhaps high dropout, and poor performance. Next slide. Collaboration is grounded in partnerships. There are partnerships at all levels. I'm going to tell you more about the regional level partners that have played an important role in the implementation of the Care and Support for Teaching and Learning program. So when the program was officially adopted by the SADC Ministers of Education, they gave it a new name, Cstr, or Care and Support for Teaching and Learning. And the initiating partners were the SADC Secretariat, which represents the member states, MIT Africa, providing technical support, Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, our long-standing and core funding partner, and UNICEF was one of the initiating partners. But in the course of time and over the years, this partnership has grown and extended. Agencies such as UNESCO, UNFPA, UNITAR, other regional NGOs like SAFAIDS, REPSI, and SATS, and many other development and funding partners. Because, as we heard from Joyce, no organization can achieve what we want to achieve through our in education without working closely together, without collaboration, meaningful collaboration. Next slide. So what are the success factors in the CSTL collaboration in this regional program? It's important that all partners have a shared vision with clear roles and responsibilities. But at this point, I want to say that roles may change. The partners have been flexible about changing roles at times. So when the program was adopted as a SADC program, MIT took a step back because the ministries of education took greater ownership and MIT changed its role to be the technical support partner of the SADC Secretariat. So I'm saying for successful collaboration, partners need to understand that there are occasions when there may have to be a change in their role. Secondly, partnership and leadership by governments, it's non-negotiable. Governments have to demonstrate that political will to the have demonstrated their political will to the program. They have committed resources, they have committed personnel, they have committed time, they are involved in the evaluation of the program. there's a high level of accountability by all partners in the program. Next. Partnership and collaboration. There has to be strengthened partnerships and collaboration across all sectors and at all levels. My colleagues will talk about the partnerships and collaboration at a member state level, but at a regional level, this is very important that the collaboration be across all sectors and at all levels. Next. Advocacy for ownership by all partners. In the CAN Support for Teaching and Learning program, we have sharing meetings, we have ongoing meetings with the core partners where we are able to advocate for the program, advocate for increased capacity, for increased ownership, for increased sharing of knowledge and expertise. So we have annual sharing meetings where partners come together, the core partners and all other NGOs and other partners to share, to learn, and to perhaps also solve problems. So advocacy is very important. At a very high level, the Care and Support for Teaching and Learning program is represented in the SADC Ministers of Education meeting, which takes place annually. And so it is another level of advocacy for the program. Of course, capacity development, ongoing capacity development across all sectors is critical in the implementation of this Care and Support for Teaching and Learning program. Communication has been and has to continue to be meaningful, honest, regular, and a two-way communication. Then there has to be commitment to long-term support. You know, as mentioned, in 2008, the SADC Ministers of Education adopted the Cstr program. And 2022, we are still working in a close partnership with the core founding partners, with our funding partner, the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, because we believe that systemic change is not a quick fix and requires more than merely tweaking the system. Next slide. So, collaboration in the Care and Support for Teaching and Learning program has been a journey of purpose and passion, addressing the needs of our vulnerable children so that they can all access their right to education, so that they can be empowered to be the change agents in their own lives, that of the schools, their communities, their families, their country. The collaboration is very closely linked to the philosophy of Ubuntu. Why do I say that? Because when we think about the philosophy of Ubuntu, it demonstrates the importance of human interdependence. For example, I'm a person because you are a person. My humanity is tied up in yours. If we do well, it spreads out. It doesn't belong to me, it belongs to all humanity. Thank you for listening. So, a successful example of collaboration. My colleagues will talk about collaboration at a member state level. That's another level. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Lynn. I'm not able to switch on my video because I'm experiencing poor connectivity. Hope I'm audible enough. Zambia is one of the SADC member states that have enjoyed the benefits of collaboration and partnership with MIT Africa. Collaboration and partnership, we are talking about the processes that are designed to build community support and increase community capacity. These are processes, as Maureen has alluded to. I'm giving an example of the collaboration and partnership at national level. We are talking about the national office, in this case of Ministry of Education in Zambia. How are they collaborating with partners? Good policies, good strategies, good frameworks are never implemented by an individual organization alone to realize the vision or the benefits, but with partners. Partners are there to work together with, and at national level, we see the partnership coming on board because of these policies, and then we have other organizations that have looked at these policies to be very good, and they also want to support the implementation of these policies. So we see the signing of memorandum of understandings at national level because we have organizations that have come together who have a vision, and they see it as a shared vision, and they have a unit of purpose, as Maureen has alluded to. We see the national office working together with partners, providing the technical guidance at the implementation level, providing the checks and balances, providing the monitoring and evaluation, conducting monitoring and evaluation, supporting the implementation, because we know that as member states, as Maureen has alluded to, we have protocols there at regional level. And then the national level will look at them and get these protocols and adapt them and come up with these implementation frameworks, the national policies. So you see that at national level, if partners come together, think together, design these policies together, and help implementation of these policies, we see the reciprocal relationship where no individual organization will be selfish, but would get the voice of the other partner. So you see that so many benefits will be accrued. And at the end of the day, we see that we are working well together. Everyone brings on the table their efforts, and hard work is appreciated. But I want to mention that, as Lynn mentioned in her presentation, there are times when partners may not agree. And we see such situations happening. And it may be, for example, in my presentation, I've given an example of when a partner does not at some point adhere to the MOU. And what is going to happen is that this partner will definitely make a mistake, and the other partner will not be happy. So what is going to happen is that a partner that does not adhere to the agreement, then they'll lose direction. And if they lose direction, then we miss it as partners. Again, you discover that it's not all smooth sailing implementing policies, strategies, or programs. We may meet difficulties out there. So if a partner wants to complain or to air their views, which probably they are not happy about something, and then we do not have the grievance mechanisms put in place, then it becomes a problem. So what we are saying is that also as we partner, we need to look at, in case we meet hiccups here and there, what is it that we are going to look at? What guidelines do we have? Do we have the grievance mechanism in place? That is going to bring us back to the drawing board, and then we reason together again. So when these policies are well designed at national level, we see the implementation taking place now at subnational level. This is where we see provinces like in Zambia, regions in other member states, and districts. And here we see the national office providing the supervision at this level. Even at provincial level, we see officers here providing the supervision at the facility level where the implementation is taking place. So we also want to appreciate to say that benefits will be will be enjoyed because there's mutual collaboration. There's mutual collaboration, there's mutual collaboration between partners and among partners. And why? Because at this level, we expect even the ownership to be registered, the ownership to be felt by the beneficiaries of the programs that are happening at this level, and will also enjoy the sustainability. Why? Because, for example, like in Ministry of Education, and this is a partner that is supporting us, Maureen has just talked about Cstr. I want to tell you that Zambia is one of the countries that has enjoyed the best practices or the results of Cstr, and we have mainstreamed in our Zambian policies as Ministry of Education. So what are we seeing at facility level? And allow me to look at facility level as the schools, the health facilities that you are working with. This is at facility level, and this is so critical because this is where we find the beneficiaries. This is where we find the learners. If we are talking about policies in education, it's about the teaching and learning. How well is it being done? How are the partners collaborating? And this is where we see the crucial partners as the parents, the crucial partners as the church, the crucial partners as the traditional leaders, the young people themselves, the adolescents themselves. So what we are going to see here is this collaboration now among these team players, between these team players, the gatekeepers, and you will see now the impact, the benefits of good collaboration and partnership, because we are going to notice the positive behavior change in the children who are the beneficiaries. We are going to notice the behavior change in the co-educators, who are the teachers themselves at classroom level, the parents, and everyone else the children are interacting with. So again, you discover that we may see some failures, challenges here and there when it comes to, if we are talking about providing services and we are not availing these services, the services are not available, then you see that failures are going to be registered. We have an MOU, but we have not shared an MOU. We advocated for good things, but we fail to provide what we advocated for. Is it services? Yes. Are they available? Yes. Are they not available? No. Then we'll have challenges. Next slide, please. So in my last slide, I want to mention that partnership is about concerted efforts put in place to collaborate around changing people's attitudes. For us as Zambia and as a program of Future Life Now in Zambia, what is it that we want to do? We are addressing adolescent HIV. We have noticed that there's a problem of new HIV infections among adolescents and young people in the region, even as a country. So if we do not bring these concerted efforts together with partners like MOH, MIT Africa, and other civil society organizations that are championing adolescents' health programs in our country, then we'll see that there'll be a problem. So what we want to see is that we bring our efforts together, we champion the HIV prevention agenda together, and bringing about behavior change. It's about behavior change. It's about people accepting to say that we need to think differently. We need to think innovatively. It is not about the same procedure of doing things. How do we do it differently, like Dr. Joyce put it? Thank you.
Thank you, Charity. Thank you, Charity. So, Maziko, we're going to hand over to you. But if I can just ask, let's kind of cover this in a couple of minutes, because we really want an opportunity for people to break away into conversation and discuss what they're hearing, and discuss what it's unearthing for them. And so, please, over to you, Maziko.
Thanks so much, Robin. And can you hear me?
We could hear you very briefly, but it sounds like you're back now. So let's give it a bash.
Okay, great. So I'll be taking you through the Malawi experience on partnerships. And so partnerships and collaborations have enhanced multi-sectoral collaboration to achieve Future Life Now goals and also to avoid duplication of efforts to achieve similar objectives. So I think something that we've also learned is that most organizations have some sort of savior complex where they want to be the hero. They want to be the ones that have just started something, but we prioritize on collaborations and also multi-sectoral multi-sectoral collaboration and partnerships because for the well-being and advancing and improving the lives of children and young people, we need to go beyond the education sector, we need to go beyond the health sector and pretty much just collaborate with different partnerships. So here in Malawi, the Future Life Now program is a custodian under the Ministry of Education. And I'm just going to quickly take you through how we strengthen partnerships at an in-country level. So first of all, what we did was, sorry, previous slide.
There you go.
So the first thing that we did was to, yes, thank you, Robin. So the first thing that we did was to develop a partner tracker. So pretty much this partner tracker identified the different partners that are there at a country level, at a national level, and to also just see where their interests are, where our synergies are, and how we can really engage and work together through the different thematic areas, which is HIV, strengthening access to HIV, gender equality, and also on climate change. But then also at a subnational level, at the community level, with our youth facilitators, we developed a community directorate, which pretty much stipulates and outlines which partners and stakeholders are there at the community level that we can work with to really advance the goals of the Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So I'm pretty much just going to show you the advantages and of our collaborations, our partnerships at a national level, at a subnational level, but also our partnerships with the civil society organizations. But just to also say that one of the main key things that will come out of these presentations, you will realize is that the partnerships have helped in sharing evidence and knowledge resources, including those related to trends, data, investment, evidence, lived experiences, especially of young people, country-led solutions, innovations like we keep hearing, program development and implementation guidance, and also sharing knowledge of good practices, innovations, and doing more with less to support required action and accountability across sectors, but also engaging how we engage partners for action, including through multi-stakeholder and multi-sectoral action to contribute to a greater consensus and alignment among the Future Life Now partners. So I'm just going to start with our partnerships at a national level. So like I mentioned, the Ministry of Education is the custodian of the Future Life Now program, but we also work with line ministries like the Ministry of Youth, Ministry of Gender, forestry, climate change, etc. But then we also work with, for example, the National AIDS Commission, the National Youth Council of Malawi. But what are the advantages? We've learned that through these partnerships, we've had strengthened multi-sectoral collaboration in programming. I've mentioned how we need to go beyond the education sector and how multi-sectoral engagement is important. So we also have a task team that comprises of all these different stakeholders. And we've seen that, for example, in our work plans, we've had technical support, enriched direction and guidance with regards to how we can implement our activities. It's also strengthened linkages between school learners and health facilities. We've recently just adopted a referral system that is currently strengthening access to different health services for school learners. But then also another thing is on sustainability. I've talked about this hero complex that a lot of NGOs like to have, but through these partnerships, we are able to leverage on already existing resources and structures which make our initiatives sustainable beyond the program. I'm just going to quickly go to the subnational partnerships, which are pretty much my favorite, because I personally believe in decentralization, which is also what the program believes in. And so at a subnational level, we've partnered with, for example, district health management team, the youth-friendly health service coordinator, the district SHIN coordinator, the district education manager, different stakeholders at a district level, the chiefs, mother groups, parents, guardians, police officers, and we've had several advantages and successes. For example, technical input with a district perspective in line with the district development plans, which goes back to my point on decentralization. I think sometimes we like to, I think Lynn has mentioned it, Joyce mentioned it earlier, we like to just present things because it looks good to us, it looks good to our donors, but then people on the ground know what works best for them, and they have their own structures and frameworks. So how do we fit into those, the frameworks that the people at the grassroots have? And that's how we've had an advantage, especially with mainstreaming that into their frameworks, but also they also provide an oversight role on activities and guide activities, especially on the catchment areas, and which partners we should work with within the district, which avoids duplication of efforts, but also avoids working in silos, but strengthening collaboration. I put an example there of the Kasina Health Center. Just going to quickly mention how one of our core priorities is to strengthen linkages between school learners and health facilities. And we had a challenge in one of the districts where there was a very long distance for school learners to access the health facility. But once we presented that to the district health management team, they were able to start discussions and refer us to this health center that was closer to Lintipe Secondary School, which is in one of our catchment areas, and which has made access to services much easier. Another thing is also on the contribution to the CSCO policy framework, which Maureen had touched on earlier. One of my favorites is the partnerships with the Victim Support Unit and the Police Department, and they have pretty much just assisted in ending child marriage cases and also seeking redress for sexual assault. We've seen that for school learners, and we've also seen that for out of school youth. And another thing is also these partnerships have supported with district activities, outreach programs, school health talks, all these activities that are very meaningful and just really contribute to enhancing the well-being of adolescents and young people in the communities we work with. Next slide, please. Now, just examples of some successful partnerships, especially with the civil society organizations. So we, for example, had with Her Liberty, and we've partnered in leading the ESA commitments to reach young people and using innovative SRHR approaches, and especially for young people in hard to reach areas using traditional media. We work with radio stations. Another partner is also Youth Action for Sustainable Development, and we're currently partnering to train school learners on waste innovations and upcycling, but also we're currently they also assist in mobilizing young people from youth clubs and youth networks to advocate for access to sexual reproductive health and rights services, but then also they bring valuable insights, all of these partners, especially with lived experiences on what young people want, on what boys want, and hidden harmful social cultural norms. We've also worked with the National Youth Network on climate change, for example, and we're currently actualizing COP26. Next slide, please. Sorry, I'm kind of like speeding through because I know we're running out of time, but I hope you can all understand what I'm saying. So why haven't partnerships worked? I know my colleagues have touched upon this. Just want to quickly share with this on divergent passion and goals. So we've had some partners where, for example, we might have the same goals, right? And something that's always missing is passion. And I know passion isn't everything, but there's some people that are just, some organizations are just so self-interested that they're just so focused on tokenism, ticking the box that they attended a meeting, ticking a box that they reached a certain amount of people, but they're not really invested in the impact and the outcomes. And I think that's very important. And we've seen that where there's such a drag and, you know, delay when it comes to making things happen, because they're just like, ugh, whatever, you know, and it just drags the whole process. But with partners where passion, like they have the, apart from the capacity, we have the same shared goals, but partners who are very passionate about seeing a change, and really seeing a change, especially in the catchment areas that we work with, we've seen that the partnerships have worked much better. And also there's a lack of ownership as well. Some partners just don't have, just do not own the program. And this happens especially when you do not co-develop an intervention and program with the partner, but then you're just presenting and imposing something onto them. An allowance syndrome and donor dependent syndrome as well, where it's hard to work with people because they're always thinking, am I getting money out of it? Wait, you guys have the money. Why should we do anything about it when they could also just use the resources around them? I know we're running out of time, but that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maziko. So what we would really like to do now is we might need to have a little stretch, because that was an amazing amazing series of presentations and a huge amount of information. Really wonderful to see how an experienced, successful, collaborative initiative takes place. Obviously, lots of layers and lots of complexity, but also very simple, shared vision, passion, purpose, and a real commitment to partnership. What we'd love to do now is just invite us. We're going to need to make it a little bit shorter than we would like, but we're going to invite us into 15 minutes in breakaway rooms to discuss what have you heard from the MIET session before we go on to hear a quite different experience, but a very powerful experience from the Relive team as well. And so I will open up breakaway rooms. What I would like to just tell you is that I'm not going to drag you out of those breakaway rooms. We're going to be in for 15 minutes. I will post messages to say that we are closed, the 15 minutes is up, and then we'll move back into the main room. But what I don't want to do is what always happens, and I drag you out of a wonderful conversation. So the 15 minutes will be indicated when it's up. Please make a note of the time now. And then when your conversations conclude and the time in the rooms is up, please do rejoin us in the main room. And so an invitation to everybody to jump into your breakaway rooms. The rooms are opening now. We'll see you back here in 15 minutes or so. Wonderful. So welcome back, everybody. I am sure that there are still people who will take a little while to come back from their breakaway rooms, but we've had such wonderful discussions with a variety of people talking about, you know, the power of self-directed learning. And when you rip people out of their learning environment, it's just very unhelpful. So we don't want to rip people out of their learning environments anymore. We'd rather that they come back when they feel ready. So we'll wait a couple of minutes. Maybe while we're waiting, if we could just hear into the room a couple of reflections from what happened in your breakaway room. What did you think about the MIET presentation? And then in 1 minute, we'll ask the Relive team to start their presentation. Any thoughts? Silvana, any thoughts from you?
Yes, I thought the presentations were amazing. It's so where Africa needs to be right now, and especially taking the philosophy of, you know, working together and using the collaboration, the partnerships is really the key. I was sharing that, you know, coming from Canada, I'm very careful about what I share, but the most important thing that I learned in education was that the collaboration, the networks, that type of learning was the most impactful. So it's wonderful to see that that's at the stage where Africa is right now.
Fantastic. Thank you, Silvana. Wonderful. Let me type one more message. Come back all. All right. So Teddy, any thoughts from you? Maziko, anything that came out in your breakaway room that was just interesting in terms of reflections? Anybody else have something that they'd like to share?
Yeah, if I may. Hey, of course, in my group, we had a lot to share, but things that stood out for me was one that sometimes in collaborative networks, we have challenges coming out of partners who are stronger, like coming from outside the African space, but also there are those that arise within ourselves. We can have our own collaborations, but one partner trying to be the big boss or trying to be the big dog, and the other one just complies. So the one part will be shadowing over the other. So that's not the nature of the partnership that, or nature of the collaboration that is healthy. So most of the people say we should have leverage, a good ground where each partner is able to do exactly what they bargained for into a partnership, to have a place of trust when you have a collaboration or a partnership when working with people.
Fantastic. Thank you, Samson. Wonderful. So thank you, everybody. We hope that that was a really interesting conversation with each other. What we're going to do now is we're going to go into the presentation from really the Regional East Africa Learning Initiative. We are quite short. We're shorter than we would have hoped on time. But we really want to hear from the really team. We'll give sort of 25 minutes to that. I may ask, well, I am asking if you can give us an additional 10 or 15 minutes for us just to discuss in a bit more detail the what's come up in this dialogue. And so to the really team, we would love to hear from you now. I'm going to hand over to Emmanuel, who will coordinate Really's contribution. So Emmanuel, if you would like to pick up from here and introduce the team, and you guys can kick off. So to Maryam and to Mauro, I've given you co-hosting rights. I know that you have some slides that you want to share as well. Emmanuel, over to you.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you everyone for this powerful sharing session. My name is Emmanuel Vale. I'm the country facilitator for the Regional Education Learning Initiative, Uganda chapter. So there are 3 of us like us in the region. So the colleagues in Kenya and Tanzania as well. Privileged to be convening the other colleagues to share a little bit about Really Africa, and then specifically Really Tanzania, Really Uganda, and Really Kenya. So yeah, it's more conversational, and we won't waste a lot of time. And to start off, I want to invite Mr. Nganga Shibandi to just take us through a bit about Really broadly our story. Nganga, you're welcome. And then we'll dive into. Hi, Nganga. Hi.
You need to confirm you can hear me. I think in the last session I was in now, I couldn't be heard very well. So you can hear me clearly?
I do.
Great. Thank you very much. So Robin had convinced me this is a storytelling session, so I did not prepare any slides. I just prepared a long story. I don't know that it was a trick, Robin, but I can see you smiling. Yeah, but so it's so amazing to listen to the stories. I'm even worried. I have a feeling we'll extend into the night. We should, yeah, get dinner to keep us going. So I think it's very hard to share the story of Rally because it has such a rich history, and I think it's been it's been a vehicle that's been built on the move. I mean, we had a train at some point. I think we are now moving towards the railway. So if you see it coming in your South African direction, don't be surprised. So Rally, I think, as was mentioned a bit earlier, has its history dating back to 2017. When we met a few of us in a hotel somewhere here in Nairobi, had a conversation and kind of set it up, and it's been running since. Anytime I think about Rally, this one word comes to my mind, and I'm sure it's a word that's familiar to most of us. And the word is Ubuntu. And I think Joyce spoke powerfully towards the same spirit of Ubuntu, collaboration, and how that works. If you've never read the story of Ubuntu, I don't want you to encourage you to read it. There is a powerful story behind how we got the name. And just what that means when all of us come together and work towards arriving at the same point with shared values of respect and sharing, and just having a common goal, looking at collaboration versus competition as a driving force. So let me get back a bit to RELI. So RELI stands for Regional Education Learning Initiative. That's the acronym, Regional Educational Learning Initiative. And RELI brings together quite a few organizations with a common vision for the East African child. We will look at our children receiving quality education, inclusive education, and we have quite a few organizations across 4 countries now. We have Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and DRC. And how really works is that we leverage really on the experience that the different organizations who are really members have been able to come together and embrace, and we build on each other's work. So, I mean, as the name suggests, our main initiative is learning, and through the learning, we're able to build into other structures. We have 3 key things that we do as RELI. The first one looks at the transformation of organizations. And this is really a process where we learn from each other as organizations. We come together under thematic groups where we learn from each other. And this is really built on the theme of iron sharpens iron. So in coming together, we're able to learn from each other's work, we're able to learn from each other's practices, and we're able to build on this. In this learning process, we also are very intentional about generating evidence. And one of the big things we have been working towards as RELI and continue to do so is really to consolidate evidence that is packaged in a way that it can be distilled to the right desk in a more manageable way. And what we are growing to appreciate is that RELI, especially in Kenya, and I think I can speak for Uganda and Tanzania, is becoming that name that most policymakers want to hear. It's organized, and that is appreciated in a big way. But also we believe strongly in co-creation and working together with even the government stakeholders. So we don't look at this journey as a parallel journey where we work in one direction, the government in the other. Where we're able to come together and work together, we also take advantage of such opportunities. I think the third pillar is really around engaging policy. And this is where the evidence comes in a big way. We strongly believe and do know that this has to outlive most of us. And unless it's documented in a way that the generations to come will benefit from it, then I guess we really would have lost the plot. And I think the presenters who came a little earlier than us have alluded to this, that we want to just do work and walk away, and it's never spoken of. So putting this together in evidence, packaging it in a way that the evidence is relevant to the times and to the needs of the communities and the children we serve is one of the things we're big about. And we know that unless we engage policymakers, then it's all a tick box. But I mean, once the policymakers buy in, then we're looking at systemic change and the long-term gains that come with it. How do we work as RELI?
Nganga, you have 30 seconds.
I have 30 seconds. Oh, no, Emmanuel, I don't have 30 seconds. You can't trick me anywhere now. I have the mic. So anyway, I'm almost done. I just have two more key slides to share. One is that we are split into thematic groups across the region. They may have slightly different names in the different countries, but the objective is the same. So the one thematic group looks at learner-centered teaching. I think that speaks for itself. It looks at the teaching pedagogy, how children are embracing learning within the classroom, classroom practices. I mean, that's a bigger piece in terms of a thematic group. I think it might have a slightly different name in Uganda. The second thematic group is around values and life skills. And this really is looking into, once again, the learning process, but how are the values and life skills being brought out in our systems, in our education systems, in our communities, and what can be documented about it. And this is one particularly exciting group that even has some cross-regional collaboration that's currently taking place where an assessment is ongoing. The third thematic group is around equity and inclusion. I think this is the one group the other two run to. This is a group that is more well-versed with the policy terrain and what that looks like. And really, this group really engages quite a few policy auditors out, if I could call them that, and policymakers in a big way. This is a group of organizations that's interested in the policy-making process and have done quite a bit of amazing work in coming up with policies that are actually being turned into frameworks within the country. We have some values that guide us, and this is critical to any learning initiative. I'll just mention a few. Collaboration is one of them. I think we've spoken about it in a powerful way. Transparency, respect, trust for each other, equality. I mean, I could name a very long list of them. How we work and how we're structured is ideally we have country leads. These are positions where members vote for 2 people to lead the country in each country. Then under each thematic group, you have a thematic lead who also has someone to support them. Then we have the hub that Emmanuel mentioned a little earlier. And we have Margaret, who's also with us here, who leads the Kenya team. Emmanuel does the Uganda team. And I think we have someone from Tanzania who's also here. I mean, that's really in a nutshell. And there's a lot more on our website if you wish to learn more about us. The other team members will build on what I've just started on. But as Joyce mentioned, we are not a close-knit club. We are open to members who share a common vision, and our vision is and our interest is in the learners and the children we dearly serve. Thank you, Emmanuel, and back to you. Those are my 30 seconds.
Thank you, that was brilliant. And I guess you've triggered people to go and look up more about Relive. I encourage you to visit our website. At this point, I want to invite Deborah from Kenya again to delve a little bit specifically into Relive Kenya and some of the amazing initiatives that they are running. Over to you, Deborah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And again, everyone, it's a real pleasure to be here. So as Nanga has shared, we function across 3 thematic areas. And so all of our members come together around these 3 areas. So one group focused on teachers, or in Kenya, the learner-centered teaching group. One group focused on values and life skills, and another on equity and inclusion. But what we find from time to time is that there are other emerging areas of special interest amongst members. And so we also have space within the network for members to form what we call special interest groups. And those groups essentially are member-driven groups where members come together around a shared goal, a shared problem, a shared solution. But basically, it's an opportunity for members to come together and open up a meaningful and strategic conversation around a particular area of work where you have shared interest. And this is a really powerful piece because what it allows is for members to come together in a way that sees them collaborate rather than compete. And sadly, we know that the development sector so often pushes us to compete rather than to collaborate. And so this is a very intentional way to support collaboration amongst our members and to intentionally create that space where we can share learning, share evidence, share in meeting goals that we are working on together. And in this SIGs, or the special interest groups, we really live out the 3 pillars of Relive that I think Nanga has also touched on. One of those is transforming member organizations. And we believe by coming together, we really do transform one another. We know that iron sharpens iron. And as we come together, we learn from each other. we glean from each other's experience, we're able to speak into each other's work in a powerful way. And our strengths are able to complement in a way that they wouldn't if we were working individually. So we see the transformed organizations, which is the first pillar of Relive, but then we also see the knowledge and the evidence, the knowledge mobilization. And as we come together around shared areas of interest, we're also able to build evidence together. And I think evidence being something that we share for the common good, for the public good, for the global good, I think is a really important piece. And being able to build that evidence in a way that it really allows us to not just work impactfully, but to hold each other accountable. And then thirdly is as we engage policymakers, so policy influence. And Nanga has touched on this already, but being able to do that jointly around one particular issue has become a really powerful piece, because it allows us to go with one voice to a group of policymakers around one issue, to leverage our shared evidence and our shared action, and for that to really be a point of convening and a point of coming together, so that we bring the policymakers and other systems actors alongside us around our shared interest and our shared themes. And so our special interest groups really, in 2 words, I would say, is it's stronger together. It's about us being focused on a shared goal, sharing our resource, sharing in evidence building, sharing in policy influence, and really getting in the same vehicle and driving to our goal together. And doing that in a much more impactful, sustainable way, because we've done it together and not alone. So the special interest groups are really just one of the ways that kind of is lived out in Relive. And so far they've covered a whole range of themes, from secondary education to teacher coaching and others. So I think I'll stop there for now, Emmanuel. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Deborah, for that wonderful presentation. Stronger together. At this point, I want to move to Tanzania to invite Dr. Maryam to share the Relive Tanzania experience, specifically talking through the opportunities that are emerging. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I think everyone hear me. Yes, I will be talking about experiences and lessons of how regional education initiative is working in Tanzania. But of course, as my previous speakers from Kenya talked about, they talked about the Relivision, and as you can see, we want an East African where all children receive education. I won't want to repeat on that because it's already been talked about. Nganga talked about these 3 areas: transforming an organization, creating evidence, and also engaging in policy. I'll also skip that one. But also at country level now, I want to talk about Tanzania and the opportunities that we have. So in Tanzania, for example, we Relive members regularly work together in Thematic Groups, in national leadership teams, and member organized learning activities, but we also organize, as previous speakers talk about, a special interest group. We have country convening, and we also have got lunch share. And in here, as other speakers have talked about, they mentioned clusters. We also learn, or we got opportunity through thematic groups, or in other words, we call them clusters. We have teacher development and support. Our counterpart have got the LCT. We also have got equity and inclusive cluster. We have got values and life skill, but we also have got an additional cluster, which is accountability. And these are accountabilities are also looking at learning and collaboration in accountability in education and community engagement. So here are the lessons that we learn. This is what I want to share on what we learn as Tanzanians. I just want to share some lessons. So through these clusters and regional collaboration, we are stronger. We just learned that we are stronger as a network in policy influencing, advocacy for policy change. And because policy influence become easy when evidence are communicated collectively For example, our role in informing inclusive education strategy. Recently, we participated very actively in creating this strategy for inclusive education, and our role was really visible. And so that's where we learned that we are stronger as a network. We would have done it alone as one organization, but as many organizations together. Because if I will be going back, really Tanzania is made of like 18 organizations, and all of us did it. But also the lessons that we learned and the opportunity that are there, we learned that even though we are coming from different organizations, everyone is dealing with education, some are dealing with other issues, health, inclusive education, but we learned that our diversity is our strength, because we are engaging in dialogue, but we are also building capacity of each other. We are learning from each other, and learning from each other has become very possible as every member contributes in thematic group and cross-country learning. So as regional and as Tanzanian. But also we have a platform for collaborative evidence generation, learning, innovation for improved practices, and global conversation. So actually, really, Tanzania, but also really East Africa, gave us an opportunity, or gave member opportunities to collaborate, and then to generate evidence and develop different learning products. For example, we have got TARL. I think TARL is very famous. Everyone know about it, teaching at the right level, which is we have adopted it from Pratam. And I think I have seen Amando here from PAL Network. Actually, TARL is a holistic approach to improve foundational skills to children. And this is where we learn. I mean, it started, the first time we had it from Uwezo, Tanzania, but then because of the network, we learn it, and then we learn again and again. And I want to demonstrate just some few kind of like initiatives and kind of learning which we done together regionally, but also as a network in Tanzania. So for example, currently we have many initiatives. I have just picked some few. I think a live initiative is very common, and everyone know about it. It's assessment of life skill and values in East Africa. But also I have mentioned TARL, and I have said TARL is about foundational skills, making sure that all children can read and can write. And now we have just realized that we have just done the mapping, and we have realized that each country, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, are trying to implement teaching at the right level and at their own context. And everyone is trying to own the approach based on their own context. But we have recently launched a project, an initiative called ADAPT. And this is, we wanted to adapt assessment into policy and learning for 3 countries, Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. And of course, without the Really network, this would not have been possible. But because of the network, we actually managed to come up with this project whereby we are going to look at 21st century skills and how can we use learning assessment to improve learning outcome and also to improve policy. But also we have something ongoing, not yet really, fully, called the Regional Parental Empowerment and Engagement under the cluster of equity. And this is also for the whole 3 countries, but it's still ongoing. I cannot say much about it. But we also, under Really collaboration in Tanzania and regionally, we did get an opportunity to participate in CIS. This actually gave us a platform to participate in engaging in global conversation, talking about research, talking about practices, talking about reflection. And if you don't know about CIS, this is a comparative international education society kind of conference. And I think this year we will also participate. So we do actually really appreciate being part of the network of Really. And also we have recently been contacted by Aga Khan Foundation, and they asked Really Tanzania to co-host a global summit, which is going to talk about School 2030. And this is the first meeting which is going to be held out of 10 meetings. So we are very honored to get this opportunity as Rally Tanzania to be able to host this meeting. Thank
you, Maryam.
I just want to end up with a quote. Yeah, just one quote saying asante, but we just realized that we realize that the opportunities are not just there. For you to get opportunity, you have to be a risk taker. And us as Tanzania, the first time when we heard about Rally Africa, we didn't know what is it, but then we have faith, we take the first step without even seeing what is it actually. But we then found out that the stairs are our teachers. They taught us to be stronger and very attentive. And every time someone is bringing new stair before us, we went for that stair and accept them as a present. And actually we did get new opportunity. Thank you very much for listening.
Wow. Okay. Taking a risk for the good. Thank you very much, Maryam, for that presentation. At this point, I want to invite Dr. Mary Goretti Nakabgo from Uganda, my country as well, to give us a bit of context about Rally Uganda and member collaboration, but also speak to the experiences around, how it is working. We know it's not always rosy. Those things that are always interfacing with the collaborative approach, and how is Uganda managing all this, the challenges notwithstanding. Over to you, Goretti.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me well?
I do.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, my network has been on and off. Yeah, so thank you very much. Speaking after gives me less things to say, which is an advantage, because Rally is kind of structured the same way across the 3 countries. Now the 4th one coming on board, DRC. But we are also in Uganda. We are now 23 organizations working together. The collaboration has grown over time. Like we started maybe about 10 or 12, and just last year we grew up to 23 organizations. We are also clustered, organized under 3 clusters. We have the teacher development, we have equity and inclusion, and then we also have life skills and values cluster. So we have actually evolved over time. But not to repeat what has been said by others, I would like to highlight 5 areas where we have really benefited by working together. These achievements we wouldn't have actually attained if we were just working as an individual organization. One has been the greater engagement and linkages with the Ministry of Education and Sports. I think it has always been said, if you want to walk very fast, you can walk alone, but if you want to walk very far, then walk as a group. And this has been realized through the collaboration that we have under the organizations. Our Ministry of Education is quite difficult to really engage with, but when you go as one voice, then they tend to listen. And because we introduced what we wanted to do as a group, they actually gave us a representative of the Ministry of Education, a senior commissioner in the Ministry of Education, to be part of this movement, which is great. We have also, over the years, over the last couple of months, actually tended to lead in some directions. So for example, when you're talking about continuing professional development in Uganda, it's quite amazing that civil society organizations are leading this under Rally, because we have influenced quite a lot under the Uganda National Institute of Teacher Education, which has just come up, and Rally seems to be the go-to entity for this. The second benefit has been the strengthened power of generating evidence. There is, as an organization, a single organization, we can do some research, but
working together, we can do quite a lot. And just of recent, we have just completed a research on recently the Ministry of Education of Uganda transformed or changed the lower secondary school curriculum and how teachers are perceiving this, how it's being implemented. There has been a lack of evidence on that. And under Relive, we have actually just completed a study and under that, and it's intended to inform policy and practice. We have also done some research and inclusion and policy research. This has been done across Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. Life, assessment of life skills and values. One organization wouldn't do that alone. The third area has been contribution to closing the learning gap. It would have been quite difficult for a single organization to make a dent or to contribute to continuity of learning. I mean, Uganda is known for maybe not something positive, but Uganda closed the longest when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. So as a network, we kind of innovated ways of ensuring that there was continued learning at home, in communities, and so on. So we did a survey in 2020. Actually, that was the first year of the pandemic. And put it together, we're able to reach over 600,000 children as a network in terms of ensuring that they continued learning even when schools remained closed. I mean, one organization influenced and reached 65 children, but put together, we reached hundreds of thousands of children. A second last of the benefit is the amplified voice at global level. I think Maryam talked about this. I mean, as a single organization, you can present maybe one paper at the CIS, but just this year alone, we have 6 panels organized at the CIS conference, which is Comparative International Education Society Conference, one of the biggest international education conferences one can have. And I mean, you have quite a number of stakeholders attending that. You have teachers, you have practitioners, you have government partners, but having 6 panels, that is, I think, combined, it's about almost 18 papers to be presented there. It's an advantage. Lastly is the joint resource mobilization. I think as we talk about, I mean, one of the things that came up in our small group is how do you sustain these good interventions? I believe even our partners in South Africa thinking about this. And one way to sustain this is really to put our minds and intellect together. And one of the things that has come up as an advantage of working together is, can we now start to put together proposals, actually raise the resources to see us into the future? And this has slowly started in Uganda, for example, responding to joint calls put up by the Global Partnership for Education. Maryam talked about the ADAPT program, we talked about Relive. All these have come up as a result of working together as a network. That said, I mean, it hasn't always been a bed of roses without thorns. We have grown over the years. I mean, as it was introduced at the beginning, we started off in 2017, really, with a meeting in Nairobi, Kenya. And over the years, we have actually evolved. I remember here in Uganda, the first year, almost every organization was thinking about itself. Even in terms of introducing what we have done together, we tended to introduce ourselves in terms of what have I done as was, what have I done as read, what have I done as educate. But over the years, as we speak right now, we actually value doing things together other than just saying, this is what I've done as was. So we have really evolved over the years. The other thing is that it's quite difficult to ensure that there is full participation and the same engagement of all organizations. There are always fluctuations whereby maybe one organization may be participating more than the other. But what we have learned to do is to ensure that There's also patience, but also ensuring that we kind of meet regularly. Clusters meet every month, but also as a leadership team, we meet every month. So if somebody missed meeting or engaging the last month, there's a bit of pressure to ensure that, pressure in the good way, to ensure that they sustain their participation in the network. I think that's all I can share for now, Emmanuel, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Goretti, for that very insightful presentation. As we close out this, not close and close, but to get the final panelists, I wish to invite Dr. Mauro Yakomasi, who is the Rally host in terms of how Rally is structured, to speak through one of the rising initiatives alive, and may also share about his experience with regards to collaboration and being a host hub in that sense. Mauro, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much. And sorry, I will try to be very, very brief. Don't worry, I have a presentation that is made of one slide. I will just speak about assessment of life skills and value in East Africa as an example of collaborative work that came up as a need that was growing on the ground. It started the project originally in 2018 as an idea because we as a rally organization, we were having the great push towards understanding how we can improve our education system, and especially how we can start focusing on life skills and values, because from our understanding of the situation on the ground, the education system was not preparing really the children for the life and for the work. And for this reason, one of the first questions that we are having is how can we show that there is a gap? How can we show that some initiatives bring some results? And to these ends, we asked ourselves if there were tools that could allow us to measure life skills and values in East Africa. And all the tools that we found were just a mere translation from tools that were validated elsewhere. And most of them, they were based on self-reported structure of a tool or self-reported items, which is not maybe the best when we speak about life skills, because we don't want to capture the beliefs, we would like to capture the behaviors. And so we decided to come up with a live initiative that has three main objectives. The first one is to develop the contextualized tool and generate evidence on life skills. We concentrate on life skills as they appear in adolescence between 13 to 17. And mostly we concentrate on three life skills: collaboration, problem solving, and self-awareness, and one value, that is respect. The aim is to have a contextualized tool, meaning that the tools are born in East Africa, meaning that we started with a contextualization study in which we asked ourselves what do we mean by self-awareness, problem solving, collaboration, and respect in this context, because these concepts that we have adopted are concepts that were generated in the Western literature and in the Western environment. But what have these to do with the local context, and what has the local context to say about this kind of life skills? And so we wanted to be sure that our tools were responding to what the communities in East Africa were looking for when we were speaking about these life skills and values. And we wanted to use this as an instrument for engaging in public policy and reforms, but also to strengthen the local capacity. Most often, these kind of tools are developed by specialists that are coming usually from outside East Africa, and they go away with their know-how. Instead, we took a long time to develop these tools, but what is coming up is an enhanced capacity at local level to develop the tool, to understand what is the process to develop a tool for assessing life skills and how it works and how you have to analyze the data and how you can bring this data to the wide public, whether it is the parents, whether it is the teachers, whether it is the government and other stakeholders. So in this way, we want to start from the local, but communicate with the global. We want to bring our experience to the rest of the world as a way to show how collaboration can bring results and how the local specialists and the local researchers can be empowered to become really capable of developing assessment tools that can really generate evidence for the wide public. I stop here because I know that we are doing very bad with time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mauro. Just pardon me, I'd forgotten one of our colleagues, Samson Cstr. Kindly just chip in to share a little bit from the Tanzanian context about the challenges around collaboration in just a couple of minutes. Over to you, Samson.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, and thank you, Mauro, for amazing presentation. I'll be very brief. You know, you have had very good journey and the story, but I want to assure you it was not a walk in the park. Here are some of the challenges faced. First of all, balancing individual interests versus the bigger picture of the network. Yeah, as we walked along, yeah, this was like some kind of bottleneck, but working through that, we came around and worked up to the place where we achieved a lot. But it's not only that, another one is it was really hard building a culture of collaboration versus the direct implementation activities. Like as we came together the first time, everybody has their own thoughts in mind as a coalition, especially a loose coalition. Yeah, so you come with an agenda, you know, you're going to do this, achieve this and that, but then there's that doing together. A common thing, not something that benefits one organization, but as a whole thing was also one of the challenges that we are beating and trying to work around it. But another one, building a community of practice. Well, to the point where you are hearing that we have a number of interventions together, it was hard having to do that, which is one of the real objectives. Make sure it's a knowledge hub. And to tell you to share success, and recently we have discovered that one of the policy framework has agreed to incorporate TAL and some life skills framework that we've been working with as really as part of their plan. That's a good thing, but through challenges. And then to share the last one, another thing is network leadership versus organizational leadership. You know, that thing where you have, this network, and you have organization, their agenda and leadership, having that mindset that you work together, not as just one intervention or one authority that benefits some of the organization, but rather changing and transforming together. But lastly, I would like to share the last one, like the traditional mindset versus network mindset. I think this was also shared by one of the colleagues in MIAT. Yeah, I think it's one of the challenges pulling back a lot of organizations. Yeah, without wasting much time, I'll back to you, Emmanuel. Thank you.
Samson, thank you very much. And I also take this opportunity to hand over to Robin.
Thank you.
For the next session. Over to you, Robin.
Thank you, Emmanuel. And so thank you, everybody. For those who'd like to remain and have just a bit of a reflective conversation after we formally close the session, please do so. But I really think what's critical here is we have an absolute giant amongst us in the form of Prof. John Fulmink. And we've asked Prof. Fulmink to please listen really carefully to what has happened during this conversation and to offer his thoughts in conclusion. So to really reflect on what he has heard. Prof. Fulmink is an he's an icon to me and to many in our South African context, SADC region, and in fact globally. And I loved the comment earlier, Emmanuel, about Ubuntu. I think Samson or Emmanuel, you were talking about the importance of Ubuntu, and Prof. Volmink is one of those icons of Ubuntu. And so Prof. Volmink, please, if I can hand over into your hands, and if you could reflect for us on this session and on the conclusion of today's really wonderful session together.
Thank you, Robin. It was very kind of you. But I have to say that I found this session extremely stimulating and inspiring. I find it intellectually stimulating and also emotionally inspiring. And I just wanted to, I always say, as we draw to a close, I always say, what is the one thing that any one of us have taken on board? One idea that will inspire us and help us to rediscover our courage, to think big again, and to continue to pursue our dreams, to build a better community, to build a better continent, to build a better world, where we live together and work together for the benefit of a better quality education. Now, having said that, I started with Joyce Malombo, and I've got here, I talk about 1 point, I've got about 15 points just on that. But I just want, and I can go on until Samson spoke. It's extremely rich. But I just appreciate so much the intellectual depth of this group and what you've got to offer, not only to me, but to the world. And I'm always sensitive, you know, when I listen to a conversation like this, that I'm not hearing the voice of the ventriloquists in the North that speak through us. And I think Joyce made that point very clear. We have to find our authentic African voice. So I was inspired from the very beginning. But let me just say, it is not, you know, we all share a dream as people who live on this continent, who love this continent, not only our countries, but it's not sufficient to have a dream. And this is what I take from this conversation, that there are ways, there are people who will find ways to empower their dream. I've learned a tremendous lot from all the different country presentations. And really, because it's the first time I hear what you've got to say, well, I just lapped every word up everybody has said. But we have to, because it's important that we understand that the best way to empower our dreams, because it's not sufficient just to have a dream. You can die with your dream. We have to find a way to empower our dream. And the best way to do so is working in partnership with others who share our dreams. And I want to say to my colleagues from each and every country, I share your dream. And I appreciate so much the way you have worked to empower your dream. Secondly, we need bridge builders. And I want to thank the leadership of I want to thank the leadership of the African Dialogue for playing this role of bridge builders. I was unaware of many of the things I heard today, unaware. And you know, building bridges is important because it connects two sides. And sometimes on both sides of that bridge, we have one side, well, two sides divided by ideology, divided by class, divided by other agendas and gender. But bridge builders are people who create relationships. And this is the whole point about this dialogue that I find so inspirational. That you brought people together into a community. And as I've already forged ties during these past 2 hours, so that I can act across borders, cultures, and religion. And that is the essence of what Ubuntu is. And some other time, I hope to be able to speak a bit more about Ubuntu. And then bridge builders help build trust. And and you do that through dialogue. And dialogue is about improved communication. Dialogue, the goal of dialogue is not to resolve disputes, but rather to improve the way in which sometimes people with different experiences, different perspectives relate to each other. We can improve that, and we can develop a shared understanding which you didn't have before. So dialogue also builds trust, which is important, and for constructive social interaction. Lastly, bridge building is important because it's about creating community. And if there's ever something that has got to do with the heart of Ubuntu, it is really about building community. I said to somebody earlier today, what we learn through dialogue is that we cannot be human alone. And we therefore should not bear our challenges alone, but also our successes. And with this, I want to close. And I borrow this from John Maxwell, that we should not think about our work, whether organizationally or individually, as building success and building success only. I'm not saying success is not important, but if you are aimed at success, you're only doing things for yourself. If you are pursuing success, you are only pursuing your own goals. What we need to do is to see beyond success, we get significance. And significance is not only what I do for myself, but what I do for others. And that is what this dialogue was about. And so congratulations and thank you. Thank you everyone for inspiring me for these last 2 hours. I really appreciate each one of you. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, John. Do you not all just want to carry on listening to John forever?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. We're well aware that we are now significantly over time. We are so grateful to every single person who has participated in today's conversation. We are so grateful to Team MIET Africa, to the Really team. You guys are profoundly inspiring. The opportunity to just listen to the work that you are doing, it gives us exactly what Prof. Volmink has referenced, a point of inspiration that allows us to continue to work together for Africa, for our continent, for our children, and to find the small things that we can step into that collectively can make a huge difference. So thank you for walking on this bridge. We hope that you will be back with us for our next dialogue. Actually, we're hoping to run a workshop specifically on peacemaking, peace, and building on our partnerships with many people who are interested in the concept of education in conflict. But really what we are wanting to push towards is education for peace. And so to those of you who need to jump off, we miss you. We look forward to being in conversation with you next time again. Prof. Volmink, I've already booked you, although I have to send you the details for the Ubuntu leadership conversation, which we have scheduled with Catalyzing Change Network. So I'm hoping that those dates are going to make you. Otherwise, I'll just bottle it, what you have to say, and pretend that you're speaking live. And we will share the details of that with all of this network. And I'm hoping that in time to come, we will have more conversations on the topic of Ubuntu leadership, what Africa has to gift to the world, because it is very, very special. So those who want to stay, please stay. Aziz is going to navigate that. Those who want to leave, thank you.
Robin, I'll just use this opportunity to say happy Ramadan to all my friends in the Islamic world, and wish you the best. We would like to thank everyone, of course, who have been here with us. It's been an amazing session. And we know that the Weli and Miet are in one of the regions in Africa. And you know, when businesses are successful, we're talking about business. When businesses are successful, they are seeking to expand. So we hope the same thing will happen for activists in the world of education. So those people who have been doing amazing things in the world of education, helping others succeed and helping others get to education, or having access to education, or improving their lives, will also focus on expanding. That's also part of collaboration. So expand that work to other regions in Africa, either in the west or in the north, or towards the south or in the middle. So that all our African friends, wherever they are, can collaborate together towards one vision, which is the vision of developing every single individual in this continent, or deliberately developing every single individual in this continent. Thank you so much. Big thanks to Joyce. I don't know if she's still here with us. And big thanks to Dr. John Volmink, and big thanks to everyone who has been with us here. Andrew and Robin, my friends, thank you for everything. We have beautiful people with us who have been with us forever. We have Silvana from Canada. I'm so happy to see her. We have Shakri from India. So just mentioning some names from outside the African continent, because we're also bridging gaps with people around the world, not just in Africa. We have Neil, I think, from Scotland. Am I right? Oh God, good. So thank you all for coming, for joining us. And as we said before, Africa Voices Dialogue is a space for Africans, but also for our friends from around the world to bridge those gaps that Dr. John Volmink has just talked about. Thank you.
Thank you for a great meeting.
Thank you. And please, if you'd like to unmute, pop your video off, say goodbye, wave your hands. That would be amazing. And if you would like to stay on and have a bit of a chat, we're going to be here.
So we put our videos on, maybe for a camera. Aziz can take a photo, a group photo. Aziz, you're very good in that.
Yes, I'm taking screenshots already, yes.
And we love the professor, okay?
We love the professor, I know.
Yeah.
We love him.
Yes. And I love you. Absolutely love you.
I love you too.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to meet you face to face.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye
bye. Thank you.
Yes, all. Bye.
Thank you, Nancy.
Take care.
Thank you
so
much. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Liza, I'm so good. So happy to see you, Liza. So happy to see you.
Come here, Yakut. We missed you. Where are you? Quick, quick. Yay.
Everyone.
Hello.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
bye. Bye. Thank you, Robin. And
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you soon, Yakut. Less than 3 weeks, and I'll see you.
Yeah, it's coming.
So those who are still